G'day legends, I know if you were watching along with me last night on the live stream, I said we would get right into the UFC 314 content with a prayer video today, but I gotta get this off my chest. I have to get through this. I think we need to get through this together. We need to experience this together. I've got to get this off my chest, out there into the universe. Maybe you guys will agree with me, I don't know. But last night's event at the Apex was cancer. It was absolute cancer on the UFC. It honestly felt like a bit of a death nail, what was going on in there. It was maybe one of the most horrible fight nights I have ever watched in my life. I have been watching this sport essentially religiously ever since Conor McGregor knocked out Jose Aldo. Yeah, there are people in my live streams that have been watching this sport since UFC 93. I get some old gray tap out wearing hoodie blokes in my live stream. Some real old heads. They have been watching for years, like several decades. And everyone was disgusted at what the UFC served up last night. And I realized, like last night as I was staring at the ceiling, like what the hell am I going to do with my life? I've been watching UFC from, like, when I started watching, when Jose Aldo knocked out Conor McGregor, it was month to month. But essentially since 2017, it's been pretty much every single weekend religiously, you know what I mean? So from 2016 to 2025, we're getting on nearly a decade of just loyal UFC fan viewership here. Last night, I'm sitting at the ceiling wondering, like, what the hell am I doing? What am I doing? Why am I wasting so much time watching this? If you liked last night, fine. That is fine. I'm not going to yuck your yum. That's fine. If that is your flavor of UFC, that is fine, okay? Lucky for you, there's like 10,000 MMA content creators out there. So if you disagree with me, if you are annoyed at what I'm about to say, if what I'm about to say riles you up, that's all good. Just go click on another channel. That is fine, yeah? But to me, the UFC was a place for violence. You know, I'm sorry, but I thought that this sport that we all watched together, I thought it grew up on savagery. I thought the whole point of when the UFC started was meant to be no holds barred, yeah? There were genuine conversations going around from UFC 1 to UFC 6 about how do we make it more brutal. There were real conversations going on about having a goddamn moat around the octagon with alligators in it, yeah? The Just Bleed guy was the soul of the UFC for years. Robbie Lawler versus Rory McDonald, the faces of blood, broken faces. This is the core of the UFC. This is what the UFC was, yeah? There was a time, literally, where they were talking about having the fence electrified. That is the heart and the soul of the UFC growing up, turning it into what it is, and I do not think it is that anymore. Yeah, so if you liked what happened last night at the UFC warehouse, that is fine. That is fine, okay? But I do feel like fans like me might be a little bit justified at being pissed off at the brand of UFC that we are getting served up these days, okay? Because that is not the brand of the UFC that we were brought up on just 10 years ago. That's fine. Look, if it's not for me anymore, maybe it's not for me anymore, you know, but I do feel like I might be the UFC's like perfect demographic, you know, I know we're not allowed to split people into like age and gender and race and religion, but your company has a fucking marketing team and they do it all the time. It's called sales demographics. I know then they have to go back out into the rest of the business and HR tells them to treat everyone exactly the same, but every single marketing team knows what demographics are, yeah? All right, and if you're selling something from a business, you're selling it to a specific demographic, yeah? Like if you make content, they say make a channel, niche your channel, picture your audience, yeah? Come up with your audience member, yeah? Like everyone in sales knows that there are demographics and then you have to pretend that there aren't, but there fucking are, okay? And you know, I feel like I'm the UFC's core demographic, right? Middle-aged man, blue-collar worker that likes beers, chicks, and violence, yeah? Now, considering that the UFC is fucking cage fighting, sponsored by Bud Light, where they tell you the round numbers by girls in bikinis, I feel like I'm the perfect fucking demographic for the UFC. And what has been happening lately, I hate it. I'm sorry that after a 40-hour work week on a building site, I want to come home, crack open a beer, and watch some cunts punch each other in the face, yeah? But that's sort of what the UFC has been promoting us. You know, that's what they've been promising us for the last 35 years. It doesn't seem to be fucking doing that anymore, and I don't know what to do about it. I don't know what to do about it. I don't know what to do about it. People say pay them more. Yeah, people say increase the fighter bonuses. Over the last year, every single time I've heard someone say pay them more, I want to vomit. I kind of want to vomit, all right? Like, what do you mean pay these guys more? What do you mean? You've got guys like Paulo Costa, who hasn't won in 4 years, but still has enough money to travel around the world non-stop. He fights once a year. Have you seen Paulo Costa's Instagram? Yeah. You got Jack Hermanson, fights once a year. Josh Emmett fights once a year, hasn't won in ages, doesn't get his full win bonus. Marvin Vettori fights once a year, hasn't won in ages, hasn't even gotten his full paycheck. Yeah, Beneil Dariush fights once a year. Luckily, he got his full paycheck. Ironically, because he didn't fight. Yeah, but these athletes have the ability to fund a full team around them, travel around the world, and not even be good at their job once a year. I don't think fighter pay is the problem, bro. So it's not fighter pay. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I kind of do, right? I think the UFC doesn't have a soul anymore, which is really a weird thing to say for a company, but companies need souls, yeah? They're visions of people put together towards one goal. And there was a time back in the day, in the early seasons of The Ultimate Fighter, where Dana White would get in there, get all the boys in the room and say, who actually wants to be a fighter? Who wants to be a fighter? Yeah, when Dana White was still growing Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series, there was a horrible Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series card. And there was a famous moment where at the start of the next card, Dana White goes into the locker rooms and gives the boys a dressing down, yeah? Sometimes as the business owner, when you want a certain level of outcome from your employees or even your subcontractors, you get them into the room, you look at the team, and you say, what the fuck are you doing out there? You are doing your job at the bare minimum level, yeah? Yes, I'm paying you, but you are doing your job just enough to get the paycheck. And it seems like that seems to be what is going on at the UFC headquarters right now. Everyone is now doing their job at the bare minimum level. Dana White has checked out. It has never been more clear that MMA On Point are correct. He is going to TKO boxing. We just had UFC London, no Dana White. UFC Mexico, no Dana White. Now we've had UFC at the Apex, yeah, Las Vegas. Dana White's office is upstairs. No Dana White. Dana White hasn't been seen in front of a microphone for the UFC in a month, bro. Yeah, that like the last time we saw Dana White was already in his office on a 30-second live stream in front of his mobile phone. All right, I mean, how lazy, how low effort can you get? Hunter Campbell is clearly locked in to be Dana White's replacement. I'm sure he's on like a 7-year contract, so he doesn't have to worry about his job goes for the next near decade. You got Sean Shelby, who's been doing the matchmaking for 1,000 years. I'm sure he's on a 7-year contract, so he doesn't have to worry about how his job goes for another decade. The UFC are trying to get a $1 billion deal with a 10-year deal locked in on top of it, so they don't have to worry about what kind of fucking content they put out for the next decade. The UFC has become a copy and paste corporate machine with no soul, which means it has no direction. Last night, I'm staring at the ceiling and I'm thinking about what the fuck I'm gonna do with the channel. Yeah, like you guys have given me so many amazing donations on this channel. I'm honestly considering using that money to buy a package for DAZN and start following BKFC a lot closer and like splitting this channel between half UFC content and BFC content tacked on to the end. So we can actually have some fun and get some interest going and then like create a little community of guys that want to watch the BKFC and actually start to transition away from the UFC. I was legit brainstorming a fucking exit plan for the UFC at this point. That is a shit show. A shit show. You've got the corporate side of the UFC on fucking autopilot, and it feels like the fighters have gone into autopilot as well, yeah? Like, they are bitching about not getting paid enough when they only have to rock up once a fucking year, even when they're losing, and they're just wrestling, spamming takedowns. If they're a wrestler, they're just wrestling and spamming takedowns, and if they're a striker, they just want to dance around on the outside and try and accumulate points for point striking. Where is the soul gone? Where are the savages? Where is the lust for blood? What the fuck is happening? Yeah? And Leroy Murphy, you're getting booed at the fucking Apex, dude. You're getting booed at the Apex. It holds like 50 people. Most of them are family members, and the ones that aren't family members pay a bare minimum of $1,700 to be there. They are the absolute hardcore of the hardcore fans, and you were getting fucking booed there at the Apex. You deserve it, dude, as well. There's a clip from the last minute of the fight, yeah? Leroy Murphy goes to point at the center of the cage, Max Holloway style, and then he literally starts running away. Check it out.
He gets caught, stalking it down.
And that's like the epitome of the entire fight right there. That seems to be the culture of the UFC at the moment. Point at the cage, pretend to be Max Holloway, and then do the bare fucking minimum to get a win. Josh Emmett, one of the old school heads, one of us, one of the old savages, is literally like confused at Lerone Murphy, looking at him like, what are you doing, dude? What are you pointing at the ground saying you want to swing and then running away? And as for Torres Finney, the guy who failed on Dana White's Contender Series to get a contract 3 fucking times, cut him today. Cut him. Pay him out for the rest of his contract and cut him. Pay the money to send a message to the rest of the fighters. I'm not even joking, yeah? Send a message to these athletes. Time to get old school fucking brutal with these guys. You want to keep your job? You want to bitch about how little you get paid? You want to fight only once a fucking year and lose and still manage to jet set around the world? Yeah? You want to spam takedowns for bare minimum at all? Cut Torres Finney, yeah? Cut Martin Buday too. Should be ashamed to use the word athlete with Martin Buday. Watching that cunt jiggle for 15 minutes. Fucking cut him too. I don't give a shit. Let's have 27 heavyweights. Who gives a shit? Movsar Evloev was on a winning streak and we cut him. So fucking cut Torres Finney for being a bitch. Cut Martin Buday for the culture. Yeah? Get the guillotine out, Hunter Campbell. You want to be the new boss? This is how you set the standard, yeah? Bring everyone into a room, give them a dressing down, and then just start firing cunts for no reason. Just shake shit up a little bit. Send Lerone Murphy back to the fucking line. Put him on the prelims of the Apex next time. Fuck ever giving him a belt, ever. Fuck him, man. And if anyone out there is offended, yeah, if any of the fighters are offended, like, I'm sorry, we're the fans, yeah? This is your demographic, the fans, yeah? You get paid so much to entertain people like me to draw our attention. That's what grew the sport, right? Yeah, like, people like MMA Guru, Bedtime MMA, MMA Joe, everyone is just bitching about how bored they are with the sport right now. Look at the replies from last night's fight card. Nobody is entertained. Nobody wants to watch this shit anymore. You guys think you don't get paid enough now? What do you think's gonna happen in 10 years when inflation goes up by another 50% and no one's fucking watching the sport anymore? How much do you think you're gonna get paid then in 10 years' time? The bonuses already don't go up with inflation. You think the contracts will? The only thing that gets you paid is people being entertained and watching the sport, yeah? Like, there were tournaments before the UFC. You know what I mean? There were tournaments, yeah? There was judo tournaments and kickboxing tournaments and karate tournaments. None of them made the kind of money that you guys make now. The only one that did was boxing. Why? Because Muhammad Ali was entertaining. Because Mike Tyson was ripping people's ears off. Without the entertainment, nobody cares. And it's not fucking entertaining. That's the truth. I'm sorry, but that is the truth. I'm like having an existential crisis. Last night was so bad. It was so bad. It was so, I don't know what, like, again, there needs to be an old school, like, dressing down. Because that, UFC London, it's not good. It's not good at all. It's bad. That's it. Vent over. UFC 314 content tomorrow. I'm out of here. Goodbye. Thank you for watching. Subscribe. See ya. Thank you to the guys that support the channel. Thank you very much. Your names are up on the next slide. Goodbye.